Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this week's episode, I'll tell you about some of the fundamental leg training exercises that will give you amazing results. So first off, whether you're a guy or a girl, training your lower body is absolutely essential. I know a lot of guys don't want to train their legs, but your legs are actually very important for your overall development. The reason is that your lower body contains some of the largest muscles in your body, like your glutes and your quads. And larger muscles produce a larger effect on your hormones. Now, I often mention the effect of training on your hormones, and I just wanted to give you a brief explanation of why I do that. In fact, I'll probably have a whole separate video on this topic, but for now I wanted to give you a brief overview so you can have some basic information to keep in mind. Hormones control the functions of all of your organs. They influence the way your body uses and stores energy. They help you increase your metabolic rate and bone density. They help you improve oxygen absorption, and they help you reduce body fat. Hormones also have an enormous impact on your mental health, sleep cycles, and overall mood. Just as an example, higher levels of testosterone will give you more energy, better mood, better sex drive, and will make you a lot more ambitious. Now, weight training is absolutely the best way to boost hormones like testosterone, and having more muscle mass will keep your body in a state where it continues to produce more testosterone. That is why I told you that the point of working out should not be only to lose weight. You can do that by starving yourself. Of course, you won't be very happy. The point is to build more muscle mass so that your body continues to produce more of the good hormones. How your body works is that it produces only as much as is needed. So if you have a sedentary lifestyle, that won't be much at all. That is why you won't feel motivated to do much. But when you make working out into a habit, you will notice that your energy levels will improve. Going back to training your lower body, not all exercises are created equal. Loading the larger muscles with heavy weights where you can activate the fast twitch muscle fiber will be tremendously more effective than working on your obliques or doing crunches for hours. And here we get back to the very first video on this channel where I told you that training your fast twitch muscle fibers is the best scientifically proven way of affecting your hormones. So not only do we have to train the lower body because that's where all of the large muscles are located, but we have to train it in a specific way. To understand how to properly work on your lower body, I also recommend rewatching the episode on size. In that video, I described how you have to be careful not to let some of the smaller muscles limit your results. The reason why I mention this is because there are way too many silly exercises all over YouTube and Instagram that will simply not affect your hormones and will not get you results. Unless you're injecting hormones, of course. For everyone else who is not, we have to stick to the basics. And the first basic leg training exercise is the squat. In fact, the squat is called the king of lower body training. The squat is a compound exercise that requires simultaneous movement at all of your lower body joints, from your ankles to your knees and even your hip. The squat activates your quads, hamstrings, glutes, calves, and even your inner thigh muscles. Basically, the squat activates most of your lower body muscles. If you're new to training, I would definitely recommend that you learn how to properly squat without the bar first, because proper technique is essential to avoid serious injuries while squatting. The squat has multiple variations, some effective like the Bulgarian split squat, the front barbell squat, or the sumo squat, and some not that effective at all like the goblet squat. Unfortunately, the goblet squat has become very popular with Instagram and YouTube. But it is a waste of time for most natural trainees because you end up introducing a lot of small muscles in the arms and shoulders along with the big leg muscles. As I told you in my video on size, that is when your body's self-defense mechanism kicks in to protect the small muscles and you end up with minimal results for your legs. That is why you always have to keep in mind my acronym first and the 5 basic weight training principles. Now, even though I told you how squatting is considered to be the king of lower body training, I stopped doing squats years ago. The reason why is because I have 2 herniated discs in my back And as I got older, I chose to sacrifice some of the results for safety. What I do instead are lunges, in particular reverse lunges or stepping back lunges on the Smith machine. Smith machine lunges take the balancing out of the equation and allow you to load a larger weight while keeping your spine in a more vertical position. You can do these one leg at a time or alternate your legs. Over the years, I've tried both and either one works for me, but I always recommend trying for yourself to see what works best for you. You have to keep in mind that you won't go as low as the full squat or ass to the grass squat, but the Smith machine lunge allows you to overload the quads, glutes, and hamstrings in the strong position of your muscle range. I usually do one warm-up set of about 15 or 20 repetitions, then progressively increase the weight until I can only lift it 6 or 8 times. And then I lower the weight until I can lift it 12 to 15 times. Beginners have to be very careful with this exercise because you won't be able to sit down properly for a week if you overdo it. And it's easy to overdo it because the stabilizing muscles are pretty much taken out of the equation and you can freely load the big muscles. The second exercise in my leg routine is the Romanian deadlift. The Romanian deadlift is considered by many to be the best exercise for the posterior chain of muscles, or the muscles that make up the back of your body, like your hamstrings, glutes, and back. The number one thing you need to remember with the Romanian deadlift is to keep your back straight and hinge only at the hips, meaning that the knees are not supposed to bend when performing the exercise. This exercise is absolutely amazing for stretching your hamstrings under a load from the top or from the side of your glutes. You can also do the Romanian deadlift with a barbell or dumbbells. This exercise is usually not performed with extremely heavy weights as in the case of a regular deadlift, but you still have to work within the fast twitch muscle fiber range. On this exercise, you also don't need to go that low. I generally recommend not to go lower than the middle of your shin. Not that you can't go lower, but the additional stretch is not worth the risk of an injury. The third exercise is the leg press. The leg press is very similar to the squat, except that you can't go as low as the squat. However, the leg press is much safer on the lower back, and because the weight is stabilized, you can force your muscles in the strong portion of the range, and that will help you get better results. In fact, the stability of the weight is the reason why I would recommend the leg press even for people who can do squats. Now, the leg press has multiple variations, including the seated leg press. They're all pretty much the same, you just have to find the one that works best for you. In general, I find that they are pretty friendly to beginners, but most women prefer the seated leg press because you don't have to deal with loading and unloading the weights, and you can easily use the intensity increasing techniques to overload the muscle. The leg placement will vary for most people just as it varies on the squat. Some people are more flexible in the hip and may prefer a wider foot placement with a slightly outward angle. Some people are not as flexible and will probably go with the standard shoulder width and feet pointing forward. So try it out and see which one you like. The one thing to mention here is not to lock out your knees at the end of each repetition, because you're effectively taking the load off your muscles. The fourth exercise is the leg curls. The leg curls are an excellent way of isolating the hamstrings and loading them from the side of the knees. There are leg curl variations where you can do one leg at a time, which is good for fixing imbalances. There are also a few machines that imitate the leg curls where the machine is reversed and you're sitting down instead of laying on your stomach. Ultimately, you will have to try and see which one you like best. I just want to mention one more thing with leg curls. You have to control the weight down and not just slam it down. That's not good for the machine, for your knees, or for developing your hamstrings in the eccentric phase of the exercise. The fifth exercise is the donkey calf raises. The donkey calf raises are a really good way to work on your gastroc muscles, or the main calf muscle that most people think of when they imagine the calves. The machine is extremely safe for your lower back, and you will notice that you can do a lot more weight than you can do on a standing calf raise machine, which of course would translate into better results. The biggest mistake that I see people making when doing this exercise is bending their knees. The point here is to go heavy, but not to the point where you can't perform the exercise unless you use your other leg muscles. At the same time, you should know that the gastroc is generally a fast twitch dominant muscle, so don't train it with light weight and too many repetitions. The sixth exercise is seated calf raises. This is an absolutely essential exercise for the development of your soleus muscle, which lies underneath the gastroc and is trained only when the knee is bent. Unlike the gastroc, the soleus is a slow twitch dominant muscle, so you will notice that you have more endurance and are able to do more repetitions. Of course, the point here is to push as much fast twitch muscle development as possible, so try to load it and don't just go through the motions of 50 or 100 repetitions. At the same time, don't overload it to the point where you shorten the range too much. Finally, as I told you in my video on size, you have to work on your tibialis anterior muscle that runs along your shin bone. The function of this muscle is exactly the opposite of the calf muscles, so it is very important from the standpoint of balance and overall muscle development. Unfortunately, most gyms don't have machines for training this muscle, so most of the time I use a resistance band. This exercise will seem like it's nothing compared to the other leg exercises, so I usually do it last because it doesn't take that much energy at all. Just a few final comments on leg training. Other than my calf muscles, I train my glutes, hamstring, and quads only one time a week because they grow very easy. For most people, especially those who want to grow their legs, that will not be enough. Depending on your workout split, you might try to do all of those exercises twice a week, like a Monday and Friday, so you have enough time to recover. Alternatively, you could spread the exercises throughout the week based on whether they're pulling or pushing. Or if you decide to do the exercises on one day like I do, then you have to change the order on the weekly or bi-weekly basis so your body can tackle each exercise in a rested as well as an exhausted state. That's all for this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like and subscribe so you can be notified when I post more videos like this. See you next week.